All right. Hello, everybody. Joanne here. It is 6 o'clock on Thursday. Oh my gosh, I don't know where this week has gone. It is Thursday, February the 1st. If you don't like winter, you should be celebrating today. I know I was. Bye bye, January. And we are here on day three. This is our last day of the 3-day live event from caterpillar to butterfly. We are saving the best for last. And we also have some really great news that I will be sharing with you near the end of this session. So if you are watching on the replay later, and you want to know what that is, you can fast forward on through. If you're as excited as I am to know what all the fuss is about, I've been dropping hints left, right, and center because the surprise that I'm going to share with you is something that is very, very close to my heart. It has been a labor of love for me, and I am so excited to share it with all of you. But otherwise, if you're here live or if you're joining us live, you or at some point, then you've got to wait along with me until I reveal the news. So, okay, let's just make sure we are good here and going live. Yep, looks like we're live in the group. That is awesome. Let me just turn our volume down here. Keep an eye on that in case we have anybody come in and they have questions. Okay, so I'm going to dive right in because we have, like I said, we're saving the best for last. So we are pulling everything together today. We still have some bits to cover about the three pillars of hormonal balance, the three holistic pillars for hormone balance. And then we need to pull everything together as well. So, with that being said, let's dive in. So we are here, day three. We are now going to pull it all together, and you are going to learn how you can restore natural hormone balance from the inside out. So we have slowly been working our way through all the pillars. We spoke a lot about mindset yesterday. We are now going to dig into the nutrition and lifestyle habit side of things. This is where a lot of people find it the most fun. It's certainly where a lot of your big changes are probably going to happen for most people because we are embedded in a lot of our nutrition and lifestyle habits. So, the good news is these are the areas where you are really going to see things shift. Remember, the mindset is what's going to keep you on track and bring you back on track when you slip and slide, which will happen because that's life. But the actionable stuff is right here that we're going to talk about today. So, we're going to first talk about the role of nutrition and lifestyle habits in hormone balance. What does it have to do with it all? Then we're going to start off, we're going to kick it right off where we want to go, and we're going to look at the 4-step nutrition strategy for hormone balance. This 4-step nutrition strategy, by the way, is exactly what I followed myself when I started to heal my body from cancer in my 20s. Then again, after I suffered postnatal depression in my 30s, and it is the same 4-step nutrition strategy that I followed once I realized perimenopause was giving me a bit of a kicking. And I now use that same strategy with all women that I help with perimenopausal imbalance hormonal issues now, but it really is the underlying foundation, the four cornerstones that we touch on. It's the foundation for healing our body from so many other things from the inside out. We have to start and go to the root. We're then going to look at your lifestyle. So we don't just look at our nutrition, although that is a big, big part and usually the real game changer, but your lifestyle is also it needs detoxifying most of the time too. A lot of us don't realize just how much we're bombarding our body with toxins in our lifestyle, in our day-to-day routine. So we're going to focus on where you have a lot of control to shift your habits and shift the hormones back into balance. Then we'll bring it all together as I promised, and I will share with you the holistic blueprint. That's what I call it. It pulls everything together I'm going to show you where the four-step nutrition strategy fits in to the entire blueprint, but I'm going to break the blueprint down for you into much more granular detail. This isn't, I told you when you signed up for the challenge, this is not a fluff. This is a no fluff zone. I didn't just want to cover things that you will probably already know. So we're going to be digging deeper. And then we get to the fun bit. We get to where I share with you my big surprise, my baby, which I have no doubt could very well be your secret weapon for long-term success. So stick around for that. Your actionable resources. So you had homework in your challenge workbook the last couple of days. And again, I'm not going to slap you around the wrist if you didn't finish it. You work through that at your own pace as well. But I hope you do take the time to do the exercises because they are real. They're meant to be reflection exercises to really kind of hit home what you're learning and understand the importance of it. But you also had links in that workbook to different resources. So yesterday you were given access to your vision workbook and the daily affirmations, the affirmation jar exercise. If you have used those yet, or when you do, I would love to hear how you did. I'd love to see pictures. I want to see pictures in our Facebook group. Our Facebook group is so quiet. I want to see people sharing what you are learning and implementing and the shifts that you're seeing. And if you still have questions, then I want to hear those too. So today at the end, we'll just reiterate what it is that your resources are going to be that you're going to want to take a look at. But essentially, it is the Hormone Health Nutrition and Lifestyle Guide, which comes with healthy pantry swaps. And I've provided this because I want to give you something that is simple and easy to start implementing actions based on what we're going to be talking about tonight right away. But I don't just want to give it to you. I want to explain why this guide is the guide. And it's important that you understand what really comes together in order for a nutrition and lifestyle guide to get you to a better hormone balance and a better state of health. You also have access to your meal prep guide, and that is to help you to embed the habit of meal planning and meal prep. Because once you know what you should be eating and how you should be eating, then we've got to make it a mainstay. We've got to make it something that becomes a part of your routine, and we don't want it stressing you out. Everything we've talked about so far is about making sure we're not overloading the body with additional stress. The body's under enough stress with fluctuating reproductive hormones. So this guide is meant to help you. It's got some really great tips and strategies in there that I shared in a previous workshop a few months back, and people loved it. I've tweaked it a little bit since, so it doesn't look quite the same if you've been in my world for a while and you may have seen a version of it. But I'm always learning additional tips and strategies that help me. So I've incorporated a few more. Okay, so the role of nutrition. So we know, obviously, that whole foods, healthy nutrition are going to be full of essential nutrients. And these nutrients, all the different kinds of nutrients, your protein, your fats, your carbs, your vitamins, your minerals, your enzymes, everything that comes in healthy food, not in garbage, but in healthy, whole food, natural food, they are meant to work together as building blocks for our body, for our health. Specifically, when it comes to hormones, our hormones are made up of multiple different variations of nutrients. So we need to make sure that we are taking in all of this plethora of nutrients so that there's no issue producing all the hormones that we need and in the right amounts. I'm just going to take a sip of tea, otherwise this is going to go cold. Okay, so essential nutrients from whole foods not only help to produce the actual hormones themselves, create them, but they also support our other major organs and then the processes that those organs and those glands are responsible for. So specifically regulating the levels of our hormones, assuming, of course, we're making plentiful amounts of all the hormones that we need, and it helps to balance them out. We need to be focusing when we're thinking about the kinds of foods we should be eating. We need to be focusing on foods that alkalize the body. So alkalizing foods over acidifying foods, because these are the foods that help to control, reduce, and maintain a low level of inflammation in our body. We talked briefly yesterday or the day before. I can't believe how fast this week's gone, about how inflammation, acute inflammation does have a role. It does play a role. It's very important for our healing, right? If we have an injury, we need to have an acute inflammatory response. It comes in, helps us fight the whether it's a virus or a bacteria or an injury that needs healing. But then inflammation should go back to normal. The chronic systemic inflammation that's caused by a toxic body, an over acidic body, that's what's causing a lot of illnesses and is at the root of hormonal imbalance more often than not. So keep that in mind, that word in mind. Inflammation is something that you are going to want to maintain. That's part of the big picture. Reduce and maintain. That's part of the big picture. So when we eat and how we eat is just as important as what we eat when we are looking to restore balance across our entire body for our mental health and our physical health. So we're going to talk about that. So, what's the impact on our hormonal health if we don't eat well, if we don't eat whole foods, if instead of an apple, we're eating a donut? If we are eating garbage, putting garbage in, we're going to get essentially garbage function out of our body, right? Poor nutrition will upset the endocrine function. So, your endocrine system is essentially your glands and your hormone regulation. So, understandably, we've just talked about why if we're not taking in all the right nutrients, because instead we're loading our body with sugar and saturated fats and other artificial garbage, then understandably, our body's not going to be able to create sufficient levels of hormone, and our body won't be able to regulate those levels either. Imbalanced hormones, we now know, can affect our metabolism, can affect our energy levels, and can affect our mood, among many, many other things, other symptoms, as I know a lot of you are experiencing. When we focus on a diet that's high in processed foods, artificial flavors, artificial colors, all these preservatives and additives, plus excess sugar and the unhealthy fats, again, this is going to offset our hormonal balance and lead to chronic inflammation. Imbalanced nutrition and poor nutrition habits are going to affect your gut health overall, hands down. Think about it. Everything that goes into your mouth eventually ends up in the gut. Your gut ideally should be welcoming of what's coming down your esophagus and into your stomach. But then your gut needs to also be in a situation where it can break the food down quickly, completely, so that we can absorb some healthy nutrients. They go through our bloodstream to our liver. Our liver regulates all the levels of everything that we need so that the body can run harmoniously. If our gut is struggling or doesn't have much to work with because all we're giving it is garbage, it makes sense, right? Not only is the gut itself going to be unhappy, but what building blocks are we absorbing into our bloodstream? Stuff that the liver can't do much with, and as a result, we feel it. When our liver is tired and overburdened, that's when we feel tired. So I'm going to jump right in here. I'm not messing about the 4-step nutrition strategy for hormone balance, absolutely, but essentially to address imbalances in your health and chronic inflammation from the ground up. So first and foremost, we must start with a nutritional detox. And the intention is to eliminate any toxic buildup. Now, we're talking currently right now about dietary toxins. So toxins that come into our body through our food, typically in the way of artificial stuff, chemicals sprayed on our food, high loads of sugar, saturated fats, all the stuff we know we shouldn't be eating. So the first thing we got to do, makes sense, right, is break that habit. Everything we talked about so far is breaking habits that are no longer serving us and creating new ones that will. So we first need to clean house. We need to clean out the house and eliminate as many dietary toxins that are coming into our body. So why do we do this? Because that's how we're going to reduce the burden on the liver. We need to free the liver up first so that it can do its job of regulating healthy levels of our hormones in our blood, our cholesterol levels, our blood protein levels, and it's not overburdened having to constantly break down toxins. So we need to do this first because the sooner we can free up the liver too, the sooner you're going to start to feel reduction of inflammation, inflammatory symptoms. So joint pain, muscle pain, your energy. You will feel more energetic when your liver is able to take a bit of a breather. So we definitely want to focus on cleaning house and taking a burden off the liver. Step two, once we've cleaned house and we've got into a habit of reducing, ideally eliminating a lot of the toxins that we've typically been taking in so far, now we need to start focusing on making sure that everything else in the body is balanced and working as it should. And we need to first start with our blood sugar levels. So we talked a lot about this in previous days, but we must make sure that we are not spiking our sugar levels and therefore our insulin levels, because insulin follows sugar in the bloodstream. We need to make sure that we are not constantly on this blood sugar spiking, crashing roller coaster. If we start our day like this because we're eating foods that just flood the bloodstream with glucose, we end up flooding the bloodstream with insulin. When we have too much excess insulin in our bloodstream, eventually the cells don't want it anymore. It doesn't need that much insulin for the amount of energy that we typically put out, right? Unless we're a marathon runner, we don't typically need an abundance of energy that sugar, the amount of sugar we often have in our bloodstream is is giving us essentially. So what we need to make sure we're doing is leveling out, stabilizing our blood sugar levels, not just in first thing in the morning, but for the rest of the day. We want to stop the spiking and the crashing. If we can keep our blood sugar levels stable, then our insulin levels will also remain stable. And when insulin remains stable, we actually support a more of a fat burning mode than a fat storage mode, among other things. We know obviously if we are constantly secreting high levels of insulin, that is also going to affect our metabolism and it could leave us prone to type 2 diabetes as well. So that's why we need to focus on balanced blood sugar levels right away, as soon as we can. We want to prevent insulin resistance. We want to minimize the hormonal fluctuations that come along with it. And we want to enhance our metabolic burn, right? It's going to continue then to increase our energy. We've already started increasing our energy by lightening up the load on the liver, but we also ideally want to rev that metabolism a little bit and start to train our body to burn fat instead of storing fat again. And the only way to do that is to make sure that your blood sugar levels remain stable. That's why this has to be the immediate next step after we have cleaned house. Step three, we then dig a little deeper into the gut. So we do step one and two first because they naturally are going to have a positive impact on your gut health anyway. So it's like a trickle down effect. We talked about the domino effect earlier, I think on day one. So when we get to the point that we are cleaned out, we're no longer taking in dietary toxins and garbage, we're balancing our blood sugar levels. Our liver's able to regulate everything in our blood better, and we're genuinely starting to feel better already. We're also eating all the right foods that help with this, right? So our gut is already starting to smile again. But at this point, once we've got those steps under control, we then want to just take a closer look at the gut because everybody is unique and the gut truly is either the path to wellness or it can be the root of all evil. And we need to view the gut as that. Now, When we experience symptoms like gas and bloating and acid reflux and heartburn and indigestion, just the basics, we're not even talking the serious gut issues and conditions that can develop. When you're constantly experiencing those symptoms, the ones we call the mild, just frustrating symptoms, it's a sign that there is already an imbalance in the gut. The imbalance is within your gut environment, what we call the microbiome. Essentially, what your gut is saying when it's full of gas and you're feeling bloated and you've got bubbles pushing acid up into your esophagus is that I'm not able to fully break down the food that you're eating. Thank you for eating healthy, healthier. And I really appreciate that. But now you need to take it the next step. I need plenty of food that has all the right enzymes that are going to help me to break down all the food that you're eating. I need plenty of good bacteria, healthy intestinal flora to help balance out any bad that gets into our body. And I also need to make sure I've got plenty of stomach acid down here so that I can fully break down all the protein. This is what our gut would say if it could talk to us. So when we have off levels of those three specific things, our gut function falls out of balance. So we need to, at this point, refine our nutrition approach so that we are enhancing very quick digestion. The faster we can digest, the less chance that food is going to sit there and start to ferment and putrefy and create bubbles, which lead to acid reflux and heartburn. It'll also enhance our ability to absorb then the nutrients in all the good food that we are now starting to eat. So we need to get our gut in a prime position to be able to do this, fully digest and allow proper nutrient absorption. Only then are we going to start to see additional hormones starting to balance out. Now, you may remember I mentioned yesterday that in the gut is where we primarily produce, provided we have all the right building blocks, serotonin. And serotonin is one of our happy hormones, as we call them, our neurotransmitters that makes us feel good, makes our mood feel balanced, helps to reduce anxiety, gives us brain clarity, mind clarity. If the gut is healthy enough to be able to make sufficient levels of serotonin, then the gut brain connection that is essentially a cycle. The gut talks to the brain talks to the gut. If the gut is able to make sufficient serotonin, it will talk to the brain and say, here you go. And the brain will be happy. The brain will then respond because it'll be in a much more relaxed state. So the brain then talks back to the gut. You never want your gut to be in a stressed out state, which it will be if you are in a stressed out state, because it will shut down digestion and undo all the hard work that you're doing. So the gut itself it's a project. And some people have to spend more time in this project than others. And that's simply because they of their own individual imbalances, potential underlying conditions. They might have food intolerances, sensitivities, or allergies that are very unique to them. And that's okay. There's a way to figure out what they are as well. And that's all part of supporting the gut. Last but not least, step 4, we need to make sure that while we're doing all of this, we are supporting our adrenal glands and our thyroid. I always talk about them together because they literally work hand in hand with most of their functions. They support each other. If one of them's struggling, the other one will too. Now, again, similar to before, what I was saying about step 1 and 2 already helping step 3, steps 1, 2, and 3 are going to help step 4. So your adrenals and your thyroid are already going to have a burden removed from them if we are doing all we can from a nutrition perspective to fully balance out our blood sugar, fully help to heal and rebalance our gut. And we have eliminated the majority of toxins that we were taking in. We've detoxified our body to start with. Your adrenals and your thyroid will be so much more relieved, less stressed, and be able to do their job, which is regulating our cortisol levels, which are inflammatory. Remember, we don't want those spiking and crashing either. They affect our sleep, they affect our inflammation levels. So when we are able to manage cortisol, it also helps to reduce acidity in the body and inflammation. We're going to have a healthier, more responsive metabolism. We're going to be able to regulate our temperature better. So hot flashes and night sweats start to become more manageable. And that whole stress response, our body is starting to become really good at it because we're taking a burden off the adrenals. So that is why we follow the four-step nutrition strategy in the order that we do. Oops. Oops, hang on. So how do we do it? I thought I was skipping something there. So that's why we follow the four steps and in the order that we do. How do we do it? So I'm not just going to leave you hanging and say, yep, that's what you do. Now, good luck to you. I want to make sure you know how. So, how do you detoxify and eliminate toxins? Well, some of it may seem self-explanatory, but again, it's often a reminder that we need. And then other stuff may be something you didn't realize that you needed to focus on. So, when we need to detoxify and eliminate toxins, of course, we need to start at the source, right? So, we need to remove dietary toxins, eat clean whole foods instead that actually support our body's ability to detoxify naturally. We don't need to take fancy pills. We don't need to do crazy lemon maple syrup cleanses, water cleanses for a week. We can just focus on eating all the right foods and stopping the bad ones and doing the best job of being as strict as you can for a period of time, a week to 10 days to 2 weeks. That's going to kick you off in the right direction. And we do that. It's solely based on food. That's it. There is no other, secret ingredient. It's removing the junk and focusing on clean, whole foods that actually support our body's natural detoxification, are naturally alkalizing, so they naturally help to reduce inflammation. How do we balance blood sugar levels? We have to eat in a way that is going to optimize insulin sensitivity. So, what does that mean? It means that we want to make sure we are balancing out our insulin levels. We're not constantly asking for insulin to be spiking and crashing to save the day because we're flooding our bloodstream with sugar. So, not only do we want to cut out the high sugary, starchy carbs that turn into glucose like that, but we then need to make sure that we're eating in a way at every meal, not going too long in between meals that we end up feeling hangry and our blood sugar starts to dip again, because that's when cravings happen. So you ideally don't want to go much longer than every 4 hours, but you need to make sure you are eating healthy, lean protein and healthy fats alongside fiber foods like vegetables and fruits and beans and legumes in your healthy carbs. What you'll notice here is that no macronutrient is missing. We would never ask you to cut out carbs, cut out fat. That is a big recipe for long-term disaster, and you're going to struggle to maintain any results that you achieve for the long term. So protein and fat essentially take longer to digest. They will break down into glucose a lot slower than carbohydrates will, even the healthy ones, which are the only ones we typically want you eating. The beans, the legumes, a small amount of root vegetables that are a little starchier than fibrous vegetables like your broccoli and your cruciferous. You can have as many of them as you want. So the protein and the fat, because they take longer to break down than the carbs into sugar, they help to blunt the spike of blood sugar. There's no rush, no sugar rush, like when you eat a bag of M&Ms, for example, right? It's pure sugar. And then when you make sure that you're eating foods that are high in fiber as well, not only do they help us to form healthy bowel movements so that we're able to get rid of the waste, get rid of the toxic stuff that our livers manage to break down so that we stay clean, we stay detoxified, but fiber also helps to blunt the sugar spike. So that is how you balance your blood sugar levels. You eat protein, fat, and carbs all in a meal together. You just make sure you're choosing healthy versions of each and you're watching your portions, especially if you're looking to lose some weight as well. How do we support the gut and the liver? So we said that what you need to do is rebalance your gut environment. And we again do this with eating all the right foods that are anti-inflammatory, alkalizing, and are loaded with nutrients. And these come in the clean, whole foods that we eat. We want to be able to support our stomach acid levels, and we do that in the way that we eat. We essentially need to make sure that we are eating slowly and mindfully. We are chewing our food well to the point that we are pulverizing it in our mouth, exposing it to enzymes in our mouth that already kickstart the digestive process. You think about it, if you're eating quickly and you maybe bite and chew once, twice, maybe three times, and then gulp it down, you've now just put an added stress on your stomach to do more digestion. There needs to be more stomach acid to get the job done, among with other enzymes, healthy bacteria, stomach acid levels. Whereas if you'd have just taken your time and chewed your food, there are alkaline enzymes in your mouth that would have already done a lot of the job and took a load off the gut. This is why it's not just what you eat, it's how you eat, when you eat. It all plays into account. So keeping that in mind. You make sure that you're eating foods that are loaded with probiotics, prebiotic type foods that are essentially foods that feed probiotics. So these are fermented foods are really great for that. I'll mention a few of them. Well, you'll see a lot of them in your meal planning guide. But prebiotic foods and probiotic foods are going to help to restore your healthy um, intestinal flora, your good bacteria levels, and all the clean whole foods are going to be full of enzymes in plentiful amounts as well. Step four, how do we support the adrenals and the thyroid? We know we have to, but how? We balance the pH with alkalizing foods. So what your pH is essentially a measurement of how acidic your blood is. Is it more acidic or is it more alkaline? You can actually take tests. There's little kits that you can buy, certainly in health food stores. I know you can buy them. And they have like little strips of litmus paper. You remember from science class way back when you would dip them in different fluids and to see what color the paper would change. And then you would measure it up against a scale. The scale is the pH scale, and it runs from about -7 up to, sorry, -14 up to about +14, with the middle being around, like ideally the body is sitting, pH level in our blood should sit between 7 and 7.5. If you are on the lower end of the scale, you are going to be more acidic and therefore more prone to inflammation and all the symptoms that come along with that. Whereas if your body is able to kind of hover around the middle, around 7, 7.5 on the regular, obviously our pH, like everything, goes up and down depending on what we're eating. But in general, when we've eaten and metabolized all of our food, where do we sit? Where does our pH typically sit? When we wake up in the morning, what's our pH like after we've been resting all day? That gives you a good idea of whether you are prone to a chronic inflammation situation or if you've kind of got it under control. So what we want to, when we support, when we eat in a way that we're eating the types of foods that don't acidify the body, they don't promote inflammation. They do the opposite. And when we reduce inflammation, we're able to support the adrenals, support the impact of stress on the body because inflammation is extremely stressful and will bog down all the jobs that their adrenals and thyroid have to do. So there's your four-step strategy, why it is what it is, and how to approach it. So I'm going to go one step further and just give you here an overview of the nutrition basics. This is where you can start. Obviously, as I've said many times over the last few days, every woman's body is different. Every woman has unique underlying imbalances. You have your own genetics that may leave you prone to certain imbalances more than others. Your lifestyle that can contribute to imbalances throughout the body. So there's always going to be tweaking that is necessary. But a lot of people still just need to start with the basics, the foundations. We're still not eating the rights, the basic healthy food. We're still making all the wrong decisions often. This is more of a reminder, something that you probably do already know, but hitting it home that this is where it should start. Certainly when you're looking to achieve a hormone balance by addressing your health as a whole, holistically. Consume a balanced diet that is rich in fruits, in fibrous vegetables, and whole grains. So ideally, ancient grains are the best. Things like quinoa, millet, spelt, amaranth. They are still loaded with all the nutrition they were born with, essentially. Whereas when we start going into like the whole wheat world, they're still processed to some degree at times. And white, we know white refined stuff just needs to go. It's just basically going to turn into sugar like that in your bloodstream. Ideally, you could go organic, but fully understand that this is not financially feasible for everybody. It's a sad world we live in, that organic food that's healthy for us has to cost so much more than the junk. Um, Although I do believe if you can shop locally and look for like local farms, it's actually not as expensive as you think. Certainly some things might be, but you can be a pretty savvy shopper if you shop that way, farmers markets, that type of thing. If you cannot go all organic, which obviously means you're going to avoid all of the stuff that's sprayed on food otherwise to help it grow, um, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, that kind of thing. If you can't do everything organic, I always say focus on the dirty dozen. And you can Google this list. It changes from time to time. So I have multiple versions of it, but typically it tends to be the same types of foods. And it's the foods um, the whole foods that are often their skin is exposed to whatever they're being treated with or sprayed with. So you're eating it. Like an apple, for example, is usually on the list because you eat the apple, and apples are often waxed to look shiny in the store. They may be grown with pesticides being sprayed on them. So if you can switch to organic apples, or at the very, very least, focus on trying to get your fruit and vegetables from a local farm where they haven't traveled far and give them a good washing just with pure, clean, filtered water, then you're 10 steps ahead. Um, the ones that you can probably not worry about as much would be the fruits or vegetables that have a skin on them that might be what's exposed to pesticides or herbicides, because at least you can remove the skin, like a banana, for example. So just keep that in mind. It is all about balance in everything in life, including our checkbook, including our bank account, showing my age. Who uses checkbooks anymore? Okay, so in addition to fruits and vegetables and whole grains, we do may need to make sure we are incorporating plenty of healthy fats. And I think finally the world has come around to the fact that this should have always been something that should have been clarified a long time ago, telling us that no fat and low fat products are the way to lose weight, the most healthy way to lose weight and healthy for your body is wrong. It's flat out wrong. There are bad fats, but there are healthy fats. When you realize that all of the cells in our body, the membrane, the wall around every cell that keeps that cell strong, when you realize that that is made up of essential fats, it starts to make sense why we are struggling with more diseases that are a result of our cells breaking down and not being able to protect us anymore because we have cut out healthy fats because we've been told to cut out all fats. So we need to start incorporating those, specifically the ones with omega 3s. We are very deficient in omega 3s because typically, and again, this is typically, we don't eat enough of the foods that are loaded with these essential fats. So avocados, oily fish like sardines, mackerel, herring, lean protein, these should all be factored into as many meals as you can, these types of foods. You don't need large portions. In fact, I don't recommend you have large portions. If you're having avocado, for example, you just need a few slices. they are high in calories. So if you are looking to lose weight, you do have to keep that in mind. Fat, because they're healthy fats, they are obviously going to have a few more calories than vegetables will. You don't need to go crazy. You just need to have make sure you're having some in every meal, some healthy fat, some lean protein, and then your healthy carbs, your fruits, your vegetables, your beans, your legumes. In addition, focus on adding in phytoestrogen foods. So phytoestrogen foods are the answer is kind of in the name. They are foods that actually have a positive effect on estrogen in your body. They mimic healthy estrogen in your body. So ground flaxseed is a great phytoestrogen food, and you can easily add it to smoothies. Fermented soy products. Now, there's a lot of confusion around soy. Some people say it's bad, some people say it's good. The clincher is whether it's fermented or sprouted. Then it's good. It's a good soy to have. It's the processed soy that you have to be careful of. I won't go into all the specifics. Just know that as long as you have fermented soy, so tempeh, tofu, um, that type of thing, they are the healthy types of soys. Legumes and sesame seeds, tahini, which is basically like a spread made from sesame seeds. Whole grains, we again, that kind of falls into both categories. All of our berries, the cruciferous vegetables, so the dark green leafy ones and our Brussels sprouts, nuts and seeds, and pomegranates. They all have an abundance of properties that help to balance our hormones because they have a positive effect on our healthy estrogen. Last but not least, I touched on this, I think, on the previous slide, but make sure you are focusing on eating smaller portions, but just more frequently. Now, not too frequently that your gut doesn't get a rest. That is another myth I hear a lot is that you need to keep your metabolism revving. You should be eating like every hour or every 2 hours. Your digestive system needs a break. It needs to just, rest in between meals in order for it to start to regenerate stomach acid again. If you're constantly eating and constantly bombarding, it does put a strain on the gut. You want to eat protein in every meal. We've talked about that, but specifically, if you're looking for a number, 20 to 30 grams at each meal. Easily done if you're doing a protein shake, for example. I know a lot of proteins now. Make sure you're getting a healthy, good quality protein, but a lot of protein powders, the good ones, they typically have between 20 and 25 grams in a serving. But even, having a couple of boiled eggs will do the trick. Obviously, if you're eating animal protein and meat, that's fine. But even vegetarian forms of protein, usually just one serving is going to give you the protein that you need. Eat foods high in fiber and aim for 25 grams at each meal. Now, I don't want you to get stuck on numbers and feel that it's going to hold you back if you have to be constantly reading the labels and calculating it all. That's not the intention here. It's just in general, it's a guideline. By all means, it's not a bad idea to just kind of be checking what you're eating, but hopefully most foods you're eating don't even come with a label. So just know that if you're eating a lot of whole foods, certainly fruits and veggies, anything that's got a crunch, a vegetable or a fruit that's got a crunch, that's fiber. That's a good way to think about it too. You want to make sure you're staying hydrated. Obviously, we know we need to be drinking plenty of water because our body's made up primarily of water. But here's another clincher that you need to consider when you're thinking about how you eat. Don't drink all your water or a big amount of water whilst you're eating. Because remember, in order to fully and completely and quickly digest your food, you need to have enough stomach acid in there along with enzymes and bacteria, healthy bacteria, to break everything down. If you drink copious amounts of water or anything, any liquid for that matter, while you're eating, you're going to dilute those stomach acid juices. And now you're hindering the digestive process. So drink plenty throughout the day, absolutely, but ideally leave 30 to 60 minutes either side. 30 minutes is usually okay of a meal to make sure that digestion's well underway before you start drinking, your next full glass of water. And then try and stop about half an hour before as well, at least half an hour to an hour. Make sure that there's plenty of stomach acid in there so that digestion can start as soon as food starts to come down the chute. Um, Ideally, you want to eat within 2 hours of waking and you want to stop eating within 2 hours of bedtime. Again, this is to allow the digestive system to rest. When your digestive system is having to process foods while you're trying to sleep, chances of falling asleep are going to be slim. Plus, it's going to, whenever we're digesting, obviously there's a whole process involved there. So it affects all other body processes, there's hormones fluctuating, and to some degree, it can be quite stressful on your gut to be trying to digest while you're lying horizontally. And your cortisol levels may spike in the middle of the night, which we don't want. We want to be able to sleep through the night, ideally. Eating within 2 hours of waking is essentially breaking your fast, right? You've been fasting all night, but the key is what you eat. Your first meal of the day should be something that gives you that lean protein, healthy fat, complex healthy carb balance, right? Because you want to make sure that the first thing you eat doesn't spike your blood sugar. If it does, once it spikes, it will crash. And once that roller coaster starts, it's like any roller coaster. The big drop is always the one at the beginning, but then it continues for the rest of the day. It's hard to recover from each meal, as long as you balance it out, starting with breakfast, and don't go too long after waking up, unless of course you are doing a temporary fast. Now that's a whole other topic. If you are interested in learning more about fasting and how it can work for you, then by all means please reach out, but we just don't have time to cover that on this webinar. Replace refined sugars, processed foods with the healthier hormone supportive alternatives. Again, we're talking basics here, but that's why I've given you the inside the health, the nutrition and lifestyle guide. There is a healthy swaps guide, and it's meant to just give you some quick and easy action steps that you can start to implement right away to start to overhaul your pantry. Get rid of the distractions and replace it with things that are going to serve you. Pay attention to nutrition labels when you're grocery shopping. So this is something where, again, ideally, 80% of what you're putting in your cart is going to be from a whole food nature source. That's when you know you're on the right track. There will be the occasional few things that you will want, whether they're ingredients in a recipe or maybe it is a healthier version of a convenient snack, a granola bar or something. Reading the nutrition labels, there are more and more of those healthier versions out there. So just pay attention to your labels and look at the ingredients list. You want to look for hidden sugars. Anything in OSE is a good clue that there's more sugar in there than you realize. And avoid ingredient lists that have extremely long words that you don't recognize, or the first few ingredients in the list are things that don't make sense based on what it is you're eating, or it's full of letters and numbers or acronyms. They are typically forms of chemicals or artificial colorings and flavorings. Now, we can go one step further. Supplementation does play a part. Now, supplementation is meant to be just that. It's meant to supplement a healthy diet, supplement a healthy lifestyle. And supplementation comes in really well in the early stages of trying to restore balance to your body because it's going to give you that little kickstart. Some people may have deficiencies specific to them, unique, that they may benefit more from certain supplements than others. That's something typically that you would want to talk to either myself or a nutritionist, naturopath about to fully understand where you're going to benefit the most. But the more you start to become familiar with what your symptoms, what patterns your symptoms are telling you are going on underneath your body, you'll probably be able to figure it out yourself. That's the cool part. So, what supplements are some of the ones that I would recommend to help you with specific symptoms? So, red clover, if you do struggle with menstrual cycles and you are struggling with estrogen dominance and the fluctuation is it's a little scary, like the situation that I had in the beginning, or you do struggle with any type of period pain, then red clover is very calming and very soothing. It's a herb. Um, Caveat note here, anytime you want to take herbs, if you are taking medications, make sure that you do check into the side effects, talk it over with your doctor first, make sure that there is no interaction. Yes, herbs are natural. However, what you don't want them to do is interact with the medication you're taking and potentially lessen its effect. So just keep that in mind. Maca is a natural root, plant root, which contains natural hormone balancing properties. It increases energy and it's been known to help with the libido. And so, therefore, reproductive health in general. So, in our case, we're talking about the imbalance of reproductive hormones, which is where maca comes in, helping to calm the wackiness down a little bit. Vitex, otherwise known as chaseberry, dongquai, and black cohosh. Now, these are names you may have heard of because they have had a lot of talk about the fact that they can help with hot flashes and mood swings. Again, they are herbs, but they help to mimic the healthy estrogen that we are dropping, that is declining, which is why it can help to minimize hot flashes and mood swings. And it does that by helping to regulate our menstrual cycle. We talked about the importance of omega-3s in our nutrition, but if you struggle to eat enough fish, oily fish, avocados, it's not everybody's thing, then an omega-3 supplement or a certain type of omega-6 called GLA, gamma linolenic acid, they are worth supplementing. So your omega-3s will come in fish oil or flaxseed oil if you don't want, if you're vegan or vegetarian. They'll give you plenty of omega-3s. Evening primrose oil is a great oil to have that has the healthy omega-6s. Typically, omega-6s are inflammatory and they're in all the junk food that we eat. They pop up in a lot of the junk food and acidifying foods that we eat. But this is a type of omega-6 that is actually not inflammatory and is found in evening primrose oil, GLA. Again, help to balance hormones, reduce inflammation. Ashwagandha is a really great herb that you can have in a tea form. You can have it in a capsule form. It has what we call adaptogenic properties, which essentially means that it helps hormones to adapt. So if they're in excess, it helps to bring the levels down. If they're deficient, it helps to bring the levels up. So ashwagandha has a natural modulating effect and helps to reduce stress and support the adrenal glands, which is key. Rhodiola is another one as well. Um, but ashwagandha is one that I really, and everybody's different. You have to experiment, but ashwagandha I really found calms me down. Magnesium biglycinate, specific type of magnesium, best taken before bedtime, ideally, because it's going to help you with your sleep as well as regulating your mood and help to obviously support our bones and muscles as well. But magnesium is one of the first supplements that I recommend to people who are struggling with anxiety or any type of heightened stress tension state. If they're feeling tension in their muscles, but the biglycinate or bisglycinate form is the one I would recommend. So now we're going to segue into talking about your lifestyle habits. So we can't, if we're going to do all that work to switch up our nutritional habits, what we eat, when we eat, how we eat, make sure our mindset's in the right place, we can't avoid and ignore the habits that we have on our day to day that could be wreaking more havoc than we realize. You need to start thinking about avoiding or minimizing as much as you can exposure to xenoestrogens. So we talked yesterday about estrogen dominance and what it is. It's essentially when you have higher levels of toxic estrogen in comparison to much lower levels of progesterone. It's a very dangerous condition long term because it's extremely inflammatory. It's a condition that I was diagnosed with at the beginning of my perimenopause journey. So I have learned a lot about this and how to narrow that gap, reduce your toxic estrogen. Synthetic chemicals that are in our environment, they're everywhere, commonly found in products such as plastics, all of our personal care products, unless, of course, you're specifically looking for natural organic ones or from plant-based sources. They typically, anything that when you look at the label, it's got, again, acronyms, numbers, long words you can't pronounce with lots of X's and Z's in them. They're forms of chemicals, and we absorb chemicals through our skin the same way we ingest them when we eat foods that are toxic, and we breathe toxins in fumes from the air we breathe. So we need to reduce our exposure as much as we can. So seriously start to think about the habits in your life and what you do every day, where you go, the types of skincare products or laundry detergent that you use. How often do you use it? Are you breathing in artificial fumes from plug-in air fresheners? Like that's another one. It's small things, but they add up. And if you're already struggling with signs of estrogen dominance and hormonal imbalance, then why wouldn't you want to change as many smaller things as you can, because they will all add up and make a big difference. This is why we want to reduce estrogen dominance and our exposure to toxic estrogen mimickers, xenoestrogens. If we don't, we're leaving ourselves wide open to a lot of excess toxic estrogen related conditions. So, women with PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids, a lot of these women are a lot younger than their perimenopausal years. And it's a sign that they're already struggling to metabolize and regulate estrogen. But certainly as we get older, we are more prone to breast cancer, uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, the female cancers, if we are living in a toxic, inflamed state. So it's a huge lifestyle change you want to think about. And again, do, just sit down and take an inventory of what you actually come into contact with each day. And then next time, you need to go and replace your face cream, look for a natural, healthier, more plant-based alternative. The good news is there's so many different options out there now that they're not all insanely expensive like they were when they first started to come out on the market. If you go to a reputable health food store, they will typically walk you through different options. And again, not all of them are overly expensive. So other lifestyle basics, we've talked about sleep, we've talked about stress management. So I want to reiterate that again, doing everything that you can to support a healthy sleep, starting with a relaxing regular bedtime, making sure that you're allocating enough hours to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Conscious, you might have some wakings initially until your hormones start to level out with everything else that you're doing. Um, Stop those blue light devices right before you go to sleep. Ideally, give yourself at least half an hour. And then when you wake up in the morning, expose yourself to the daylight as soon as you can, because that's going to help to stir up your cortisol, which is when you actually need it in the morning to get you up. And it's going to drop your melatonin, which is also what you need. Your melatonin should be high at night and cortisol should be low. When our hormones are out of balance because of our habits, as well as, in conjunction with what's naturally happening with our estrogen and progesterone, that's why we often wake in the night. Typically, it's spiking cortisol when it shouldn't be, and our melatonin levels aren't where they should be to keep us awake, keep us asleep. Another great thing to note is establishing a cooler temperature in your room. And ideally sleep with as few layers as possible. Not only is this going to help you, obviously, if you have night sweats or hot flashes in the night, but in general, having a cooler temperature, it just helps all your hormones to kind of settle. It's less stressful on the body. Not cold, don't be cold, but cooler. Don't have it overly warm. Think about your cookware and storage containers and how you store liquids and what you drink out of. So glass bottles, ceramic or stainless steel, they should become your mainstays, and try to stop using non-stick cookware or plastic bottles or plastic Tupperware. Certainly don't heat them up in the oven or the microwave, because those plastics will break down. The Teflon that's on nonstick cookware, that is actually quite toxic as well, and it could get into our food, into our body easily if we're cooking in them. They're all just different forms of xenoestrogens. Just remember, xeno X is bad. That's how I always remember that. essentially they're all around us. We just need to be aware of them and minimize our exposure as much as possible. Another great lifestyle basic is dry brushing. So this is something that actually I didn't do. I'd heard about it and I knew people that it really helped, but I hadn't done it. And then I had cancer in my 20s, and obviously mine was a lymphatic cancer. I had Hodgkin's lymphoma, and so understandably after that, I wanted to make sure that I was doing everything in my power to support my lymphatic system. Your lymphatic system is your waste removal system. And it's interesting because we have two fluids that circulate in our body. We have blood, obviously, in our veins, and we have in our arteries, and we have our lymph fluid that also walks around, moves around the body. Now, the blood, obviously, we know moves all the nutrients and everything around the body to make the body move, but blood is able to move because the heart pumps it, right? The heart pumps it around. Your lymph fluid in your lymphatic system, it doesn't have a pump. The only way to move lymphatic fluid quickly around your body, because it's quite sluggish, it's full of all your waste, essentially, because it is a waste removal system, is movement, a muscle contraction. When we contract our muscles, we're able to push, think of it like cement, wet cement. That's what I envision lymphatic flow to look like. And if it gets stagnant in certain areas, certain lymph nodes, we know what happens. It can react, right? Our lymph nodes swell. So the point I'm trying to make here is that not only is exercise and movement, which is one of the lifestyle basics we're talking about lower down, not only is it beneficial for our heart and helping us to lose weight and support our metabolism, but it also helps our body's waste removal system. But so does dry brushing. Dry brushing, or even when you're in the shower, just rubbing with the palms of your hands in circles. But dry brushing helps to exfoliate your skin. So if you suffer from cellulite, which for a lot of women in perimenopause seems to come out of nowhere as well, then dry brushing is really great for that. Not only is it exfoliating the skin, but it's helping to move around the lymphatic fluid. And those lumps are typically stagnant lymph moving through the body. So dry brushing is great, as is what did I just say? Movement. Thank you. Muscle contraction for moving lymphatic fluid around. We keep talking about stress response, and I keep coming back to it. We just need to make sure that we're managing it, obviously, managing our cortisol levels so that they're not constantly spiking and crashing. We also need to be making sure that we're sweating on a regular basis. Now, you might think, ew, gross, like what woman wants to smell bad? We don't have to smell bad. You need to ideally control your body odor. And a lot of that actually comes with eating healthier. From the inside out, your body odor naturally is less pungent. But sweating is another way that we excrete toxins out of the body. We sweat them out. So if we're constantly trying to stop them with like antiperspirants, chemical-based antiperspirants, we are essentially stopping a natural bodily function where we should be sweating toxins out of us, which is why if you can find a natural deodorant, something that's made from natural essential oils, for example, and not chemicals, that can disguise any odor if you're sweating, that is a better approach. Now, it's not always easy. I've tried several over the years, and not all of them have worked. And sometimes you just need to make sure you smell pretty. But they're getting better and better. And I do recommend that you try them. What you don't want to do is keep stopping yourself from sweating. It's a great way to detox toxic estrogen and other toxins from the body. When we're talking exercise, focus on low impact versus jumping around like crazy, because that is going to stimulate cortisol, which in our 20s and 30s we were able to manage. But now our adrenals have too much work to do with the decline of our ovary function. So we cannot stress out our bodies with exercise. Exercise is good, exercise is recommended, but you can get your heart rate up with low impact cardio. But the key is to start incorporating, if you're not already, weight resistance exercise, whether it's body weight, hand weights, dumbbells, or barbells. The more we can strengthen our muscles and build density within our muscles, you're not only going to obviously support the health of your bones and your joints as you age, which we need to do because estrogen's protective function is gone, which typically up until this point has supported our bones and our joints, but it's also going to help to boost your resting metabolic rate. Think about it, your muscles when they're bigger, they take more calories. They will use up more calories to work, to function, whereas fat doesn't take up a lot of calories at all. Fat just kind of sits around us, whereas muscles are actually functioning, they're active. So if we can build up our muscles, we will change our body composition as well. And last but not least, can't talk about lifestyle without focusing on the priority of self-care. Practicing relaxation techniques, whether that's yoga, meditation, deep breathing, whatever it takes to manage stress, look after yourself, clear your brain, give yourself the ability to enjoy life. All of these things are great for our mindset too, but we have to stop feeling guilty about putting ourselves first. When we do feel like we are putting ourselves first and we feel healthier, we will sleep better as well. So we've talked about nutrition a lot. We've talked about lifestyle a lot. We talked about mindset a lot yesterday. I just want to bring it all together, summarize the big key points from the mindset side of things so that you've got everything here in one place tonight. What are the basics of mindset? The third pillar, practice replacing negative self-talk with positive affirmations. Keep doing that. The more you do that, the more your brain will listen and the more your thoughts will support your journey. Challenge limiting beliefs that you have by continuously educating yourself, being open-minded about new tactics, new strategies that you may not have tried. Practice gratitude for what you do have and self-love for inner peace and mental calm. Make yourself a priority, commit to living an authentic, joyful life. And as I always say, focus on being a tortoise, tortoise, turtle, not the hare. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Health transformation should never be rushed. It should never cut corners, and it should be very personal to you. You take the time to get to know you, become self-aware with what your symptoms are telling you, what picture they're portraying, get to the root, discover what the root issues are, and then step by step, using mindset, nutrition, and lifestyle, you will address them. Break your bigger goals, what your future vision looks like, down into smaller goals. Make sure you're celebrating every step along the way. That will work wonders for your mindset. So, in summary, there you have it, the three pillars of holistic health: mindset, nutrition, and lifestyle. So now I'm going to break that down into what I call the holistic blueprint to hormone harmony. If you were looking to walk away from this 3-day event with an actionable plan, a step-by-step plan, this is exactly what I'm giving you right now. And it touches on all three of those pillars so that it is a holistic approach that you can practice and continue to get better at for lifelong, for a hormone balance and your best health overall. So when we're thinking mindset, I consider this phase one. You've got to do the mindset work first to make sure that you're ready to start. Prepare for your transformation. Step one is all about ditching the overwhelm. Think back, we have done a crash course through all of this over the last 3 days. So ditching the overwhelm means learning to understand your symptoms and becoming more self-aware. You're going to do that by tracking your habits. You have a habit tracker. Hopefully, you've already started using that so that you can see where you need to make improvements to address those three pillars: the mindset, the nutrition, and the lifestyle. You then begin creating a new daily routine. As you implement a new habit and build on it with each healthy habit, you start to build a new routine. And you do it one step at a time in a way that you can consistently get used to it. Don't overload yourself in the beginning. It's all about getting clarity on your situation, getting clarity on what's actually happening with you, and where you need to make changes to move you forward. Step two of mindset is all about mindset itself and getting comfortable with self-care. So you want to begin work on adopting a growth mindset. So if you are typically somebody that's in a very fixed mindset place, has a lot of limiting beliefs that hold you back, don't believe that you have any control over your situation, that's the work you want to start on. Using positive affirmations, being open to another way of doing things and experimenting. You want to practice regular self care, make a habit of changing how you talk to yourself. Remember, if you continuously talk to yourself negatively and talk yourself out of things that are good for you, your body will listen, your mind will believe you. So you need to retrain your thoughts. You want to start by taking 10 to 15 minutes each day in the morning and ideally repeat some daily affirmations for the day ahead. I gave you some daily affirmations that you could print off and put in the jar. That's a great place to start. And pick one or two each day and start there. And just keep repeating it in the mirror, looking yourself in the eye until you actually start to really believe it. And you'll be amazed at an impact it has on how your body feels. And then do the same in the evening. Take 10 to 15 minutes in the evening to meditate, journal about what you are grateful for that day. Remind yourself it's not all perimenopausal symptoms. It's not all um, stress and overwhelm. In fact, you're going to start to break through that. So be grateful for what you have, the ability to learn, the ability to change, and know that you have that ability within you. Then the last step within mindset work is to focus on restoring some inner peace and a healthier relationship with food. You need to kind of get comfortable with all of these three steps before you move into making big nutrition changes. Otherwise, you may struggle. This is preparing you for those big changes. So begin tracking your moods along with your habits and your triggers of those moods, because this is going to help you further identify the underlying cause of your symptoms, specifically what triggers your mood swings and what triggers anxiety flare-ups. Then focus on creating a healthy sleep routine, doing everything that you can. Conscious that estrogen and progesterone, when they do their little dance at night, they can wake you up unnecessarily. They can be a bit of a pain from time to time, but you are working long term on getting them back in a much more stable spot, or the hormones that actually are impacted by them. You're getting them more regulated too, which is going to go a long way to helping you to sleep better. But in the beginning, just make sure that your habits aren't making the situation worse. Focus on that. Create a list of stress management strategies that you can deploy to manage stress as quick as it comes. And create a habit of assessing whether your hunger is actually emotional or physical, because this is going to help you to overcome cravings and emotional eating. So again, we touched on this earlier in the 3-day event, but essentially what we're talking about here is learning to become a mindful eater and being more mindful about everything in general. Stopping, focusing on where you are in the moment, trying to block out the distractions. Whenever you feel that stress forcing you to the refrigerator or to the pantry for the cookie jar, if emotional eating is something that you struggle with, just stop and give yourself a little bit of space instead of reacting by eating that food you know you probably shouldn't be eating right away. During that little 5-minute break, distract yourself and think about, is this really hunger or is this my emotions? Sometimes just acknowledging that it could be something other than actual hunger is enough to stop you in your tracks. And then you go find another distracting task, or drink a glass of water is another good one, and the craving typically passes. But a lot of emotional eating is psychological as well as physiological, so it certainly requires some mindset work And then you also address it physiologically when we're balancing your blood sugar, because that's the other part that's associated with it. So, on that note, what actions can you start to put in place for nurturing your transformation now? So, this is where you start to make some nutrition changes. And this is all stuff that you can start to do right now because I'm giving you the steps. So, step four, or the first step in the nutrition phase, is again, it's all about awareness. You have to know what you're dealing with, what your current situation is, in order to know what you need to change to get where you want to be and to be able to track your progress. So, begin tracking your food intake daily to identify patterns in your symptoms to highlight underlying health imbalances. Then you want to start by doing a kitchen clean out. So just start by swapping out unhealthy sugary foods with healthier alternatives. And you have your guide, your Healthy Swaps guide resource to help you start that right away. Start paying attention to food labels when you're shopping, and just don't get hung up on it. Don't spend hours in a grocery store, but just if you are buying something that has a label on it, focus primarily on whole foods that don't have a label on them. But where you do, just take a look at that ingredient list. Pick stuff that is a lot shorter an ingredient list. Foods you actually recognize, make sense based on what it is you're actually buying. Create a habit of planning your meals in advance and prepping your recipes in advance to save time and keep you on track. Again, you have a resource to help you with this. You have your meal prep toolkit resource. I can't stress enough how important this habit is to make. This is the habit that trips me up to this day if I don't make it a priority. Some weekends are busy. If I've been on vacation and we get back late on a Sunday, I know I'm in trouble the week ahead because I haven't done my prep work. Do your best to make this a habit. It's certainly not something you want to fluff over. Then when we start, folks, so remember this is all part of detoxing the body, cleaning the body out, cleaning out your bad habits and starting new ones that are going to carry you through. Then when you start to focus on balancing your blood sugar and cleaning the body out, detoxifying the body, you simply want to focus on eating more whole foods that are high in fiber, all your fruits and veggies and whole grains, and eliminate as many processed sugary foods as you can. The more strict you are here, the better. The faster you're going to start to see results. You want to start each day with a glass of warm lemon water and aim for about 8 glasses a day, but away from your meals, remember, so you don't upset your digestive process. You want to make sure that all of your meals, when you're putting them together from this point on, are going to have a little bit of healthy fat in there, even if it's just a tablespoon of olive oil that you're sauteing your fish in, for example. So it'll have a little bit of healthy fat, some healthy protein, and some healthy carbs in each meal. Don't just eat carbs on their own. They will spike your blood sugar, even the healthy ones. And then make sure that you're eating ideally no more than every 4 hours or so, but no later than 2 hours prior to sleep. Support your digestion, let your body rest overnight, and make sure you're not going too far beyond 4 hours. That's probably the max I would say before your blood sugar naturally starts to decline. So if you've done really well balancing your meals so that you can get to the next meal without your blood sugar crashing, then the last thing you want to do is just go a little too long. So that's where healthy snacks, balanced snacks come in handy to kind of fill a gap. You don't want to be snacking all day. That's not allowing your digestive system to rest. But if you do need a snack to get you through a larger gap between meals, just make sure that the snack is balanced as well, like an apple, maybe a tablespoon of almond butter, some healthy fats and some protein, and your healthy fibrous carb, your apple. Then when you want to focus on your gut. So this is where, if you at this point, when you have made all of these changes and you're starting to really embed these new habits, if you still feel that your gut needs some TLC, this is where you may want to start to complete a food journal. So this just simply means that you're going to note down everything you eat and any symptoms that you experience. Not necessarily right away, because food intolerances and sensitivities don't typically show symptoms right away. They can be delayed. But the key is that over time, you may start to see the same symptoms showing up within a day, within hours, or a day or two of eating a particular food. The longer and more detailed your journal, the sooner you'll start to identify those links. And then you know where you may need to eliminate some certain foods, see how the body reacts, see if you can reintroduce them. There's a specific way to do that, which is kind of, again, another a whole tutorial in itself that I help clients with. Of course, if you ever feel you need that level of support, I would hope you'd reach out and I'd certainly help you. You continue supporting your gut by making sure you're eliminating foods that damage the gut. So a lot of this you would have eliminated when you detoxing the body, cleaning out your kitchen. So it is habits that are all building on each other. The high sugar, high fat foods, alcohol, artificial processed foods, of course they are inflammatory. They're going to acidify the body and they're going to damage the gut. So if you can minimize them, great. Gluten, red meat, dried fruits, they don't necessarily harm everybody, but most people actually do feel a lot better, and the gut's quite happy if it doesn't have to deal with those things a lot either. So just keep that in mind. If you do have food intolerances that you identify through your food journaling, you want to consider eliminating them for a while, like I said, and observe any improvement. If you introduce them into your body and they wreak havoc again or symptoms start to recover, you've actually just done your own investigative work. And you know that's probably a food that, even if it's temporary, right now your gut's just not ready for. You want to consume plenty of prebiotic and probiotic foods and gut healing supplements. And last but not least, you can support your gut and your stress hormones by using adaptogenic herbs, whether it's in a tea form or a supplement. Ideally, any type of herbal supplement you want to take a break from after about 12 weeks. I wouldn't typically go longer than that. I wouldn't take them for life. You want to have a break from them because you don't want your body relying on them. Herbs are not something our body needs naturally. They're just extremely helpful during times of imbalance and deficiency. Last but not least, phase three, the third pillar is lifestyle. So, what steps can you start to take now to further move the needle in your favor while minimizing your toxic load? So, focusing on those xenoestrogen type, anything that's typically a chemical or something in the environment that you're breathing in, putting on your skin and absorbing or ingesting in food, you want to eliminate them. Give it some serious thought where you're exposed and cut back your exposure. Start thinking about your exercise routine, or if you're limited mobility, maybe just movement, daily movement. But try to get some movement in every day at the very least and focus on more low impact strength training type exercise and stretching. We definitely want to make sure we're supporting our joints as everything starts to dry out a little bit as we age. We don't have as much lubrication. Practice plenty of stress management, not just when you're stressed, but just in general, like when you're driving, just do deep breathing exercises so that you get more into a habit of breathing in a way that oxygenates the body and naturally keeps stress levels minimized. And if you can, you want to think about reducing your alcohol intake. Now, this is a tough one for a lot. It was something I thoroughly enjoyed my red wine. And but I knew I had to significantly cut back. I was drinking a little more than I probably should, never to intoxication, but certainly more than I should. It was becoming almost a daily night glass every evening. It's extremely toxic to our liver. We know that, but it's extremely inflammatory, and hormones don't like it. When we are already struggling with hormonal fluctuation, we don't want alcohol pushing us over the edge. It's something, it's empty calories as well. So if you're looking to manage your weight, obviously it's a no-brainer. So doing what you can to minimize it is key. Strengthening your relationships and boundaries. So this is something that we haven't talked about a lot, but it's something that I do recommend because often relationships bend under pressure as women are going through this stage. We're struggling to communicate what we're going through. Our loved ones or our partner doesn't quite understand, starts to think that we're changing, we're not the person they once knew. So taking the time to learn um, about how you can communicate a little better and be more open and transparent about your situation can typically foster more of an open dialogue and hopefully a better level of understanding to support that relationship. Remember, it's not forever. It's not forever anyways, but you certainly, once you get going with all of these habits, are going to be able to improve your situation sooner than you think. Focus on setting boundaries with others. That's something else to consider in your lifestyle. We often end up saying yes too many times when we should be saying no, and we sacrifice our own self-care and the time that we need or the support that we need to implement our new habits. So don't do that. That's something worth working on as well. And then last but not least is the fun part, which we talked about yesterday. And if, as I said, if you started working on your vision board and your goal setting last night using the vision workbook, I'd love to see what you came up with. Let's celebrate where you intend to be and share it because it motivates everybody. So I'd love it if you'd share it in the group if you're watching this on the replay and you take the time to do some of the work. But creating a vision board of what your future looks like, it's a fun thing to do, but it's also extremely rewarding and it cements what you're doing and always reminds you of your why. You want to set goals for the next 12 months, ideally, but then work backwards and break them down into smaller steps that you can achieve a lot easier and celebrate along the way. And remember to always keep reflecting on your daily routine. Create a schedule that will incorporate all your new habits and help you to continuously continue to break the bad ones if you're, over time, if that's what's necessary, and keep them away. But just keep reflecting. Remember, this is a lifelong lifestyle change that I'm urging you to make and giving you the tools and the steps to support you on the way. I don't want you to view it as a once and done. That's cutting corners, and you should never do that with your health. Instead, just keep reflecting each day on what's worked for you, what might not be working, repivot. The key is to experiment with what is going to work for you. Remember, everybody's different. We need to address things in a different way. So I just pressed the button a little too quick there, but I was getting excited. I want to now introduce you to the big surprise that I've been holding on to, although I probably dropped more hints than I meant to. I want to introduce you to the brand new membership of mine, the Midlife Metamorphosis Society, that the doors are now officially open. This is an incredible membership. It is very unique in the sense that it is not only holistic, it is going to walk you through all the steps we just talked about in extreme detail in a holistic manner, addressing everything that supports your health and your hormones, but it's customizable. So, yes, there's a framework, but every step of the way has an ability for you to pivot and customize your journey to suit your needs every step of the way. It is open essentially now. It is a $7 a month membership, and I'm just going to show you here why it is so unique. As I said, it's a membership, but it's also a training program in one. Typically, you get one or the other. You get a membership and you may have resources being given to you every month, but there's no real training component to it. Well, or you get a training program, and then once that's done, you're kind of left wondering what's next. This is a membership and a training program all wrapped into one. So in addition, did I just say this? Oh, they're out of order. This is the framework that essentially addresses what we just talked about, the step-by-step holistic blueprint. I have put this together to ensure that every lesson throughout every phase is broken down with bite-sized video tutorials and resources to support every single step along the way to be able to walk you through this framework at your own pace and be able to pivot at specific points to support you. So why is it completely unique? As I said, there's the bite-size step-by-step video tutorials throughout each lesson. and they walk you through extremely simply exactly what it is that you have to do to achieve that step. And you will have a toolkit of fillable and printable worksheets, planners, journals, cheat sheets, anything you would possibly need to help you to implement and move forward faster and easier through each step. In addition, the membership component, you have the ever-growing resource library. So every month there will be additional meal plans, recipe packs, meal prep guides, grocery lists to make sure that you're not going to trip up, although the training program is intended to teach you how to do it all on your own and fully understand how to put your nutritional meals together, because when you have a clearer understanding of what it is you're doing, you're more likely to stick to it, right? You will have additional resources that come into the vault each month as well to support you. Each month, as we work through different things, will pop up in our live Q&A sessions, different challenges that people are working on. And that's what informs me to know what resources are going to help you with that specific challenge. So this is your core methodology, your core training program, and you will start with a core toolkit of resources, everything you could possibly need. But each month you will continue to get more, which will become more refined as our membership grows. You will have access to a private members only Facebook community, which is where you can seek support, you can have an accountability buddy, and you can connect with people that are actually going through the same training program. They may have similar challenges to you and have tips and strategies that they can share as well. But it's a private Facebook, not a free Facebook group open to the public. And it is going to be a real place to nurture connections that you're going to make. So we just touched on the framework. Essentially, this is going to cover all of the steps. And I said each lesson is broken down into bite-sized tutorials to walk you through not just the lesson itself, but the resources and how to use the resources to move you forward. And if there is a place where you need to pivot to address your specific unique concerns or your challenges or your specific underlying health issues, then you're told exactly where to pivot as you work through each lesson. Here's just a few of the resources that you get access to immediately. So the toolkit, the base core toolkit that supports the framework and every lesson in it is ready and waiting for you in the membership portal. Everything from self-care journals to your self-assessment guide. You have a 30-day journal for mindful eating. We have a 10-day detox kit that walks you through how to properly, naturally, and safely do your 10-day detoxification, one of the steps in the framework. Meal plan and prep expert toolkit. You have the blood sugar balancing blueprint and your own interactive create weekly macro balancing meal planner. You've got an ultimate goal setting workbook, your vision board. I gave you this one early. You've had this one already. Happy hormone exercise guide and an exercise planner. You have multiple workbooks. This is just one of them. The Releasing Limiting Beliefs helps you to work through those. You have your kitchen detox guide, your nutrition labels 101, your stress and your sleep rehab kit. I ran out of space. There are a lot more, and the library will continue to grow. By the way, the link at the bottom is the link for you to enroll if you're already excited and you're ready to get started. So I keep repeating it on all the slides so that you can have a chance to write it down. Essentially, it's cleanlivingnutrition.com/midlife metamorphosis society mini membership with hyphens in between and then a / at the end. And there's more. So because this is the grand opening of the membership, I wanted to offer you some extra bonuses. So for support in the mini membership, you have the live Q&A sessions and you have a monthly live training. What I'm adding into the mix here is 2 private one-to-one consultations with me directly to troubleshoot at whatever point you feel you need that extra support. It will be dedicated one-to-one time with me. We'll do a thorough review of your situation and personalize your plan through the framework. You can schedule these 2 sessions at your own convenience when it works for you the best. The intention is to help you break through any roadblocks, give you any motivation that you feel you need. 2 30-minute sessions just for you to ask as many questions as you wish. And then in addition, you are going to be able to complete a thorough, in-depth personal nutrition and lifestyle assessment analysis that we're then going to deep dive into together. We're going to really reveal and give you clarity on what your unique symptomatology is saying about your hidden health imbalances. I'm going to analyze this for you, share the results, and you will get a personalized treatment protocol that fits into the framework so that you can just X 10x your results faster and quicker because you're going to be addressing your specific situation. In addition to that, if you like the one-to-ones, the privates, consultations with me, then you will also get a lifetime 30% discount of any other future private consultation with me if you want that additional support. So here's just a few of the client testimonials that I am thankful to have from the women that I have helped in the past when we've worked one-to-one. I've ran a group coaching program before. And then I also have my one-to-one support work. And the membership was always my dream. It was something that I wanted because there's a community component to it. And it's something that never ends. It's something that we will continue to work on together. So I'm so excited. I want you to be one of these success stories. I see them. This is what makes me continue to do what I do because it's just amazing to see the eye-opening, life-changing experiences that a lot of these women are experiencing. Women that thought, like probably you do from time to time, that your life as you knew it is behind you, that the best years are gone, that from this point forward, you're destined to live a half a life. Not the case. And these women are living proof of that. But here's my favorite testimonial. My favorite testimonial is my own. And the reason that I do, the reason I studied nutrition 16 years ago, because the age of 26 in 2002, when I was diagnosed with lymphoma, that was my eye-opening moment. That was when my body fell apart, not just from the disease itself, but from the treatments that saved my life. And they did save my life, but they left my body extremely inflamed. They left my body in a mess. My hormones were all over the place. My gut was a wreck. My immune system, understandably, had been absolutely decimated. And I knew that I did not ever want to go through something like that again. We don't always have our control, 100% control over what our health, our health journey looks like for our life. But I knew there was a lot that I must be able to do to turn my life around. So over the next 4 years, I started by working with a naturopath, and that's when I discovered the power of holistic natural nutrition. And I went back to school. I took a sabbatical from my corporate world. I went back to school. I thought, this is it. I already was experiencing the benefits from my own physical and mental health recovering after my cancer journey simply by changing up how I ate, what I ate, when I ate, my lifestyle habits. And it was a profound change. Within 4 years, I was getting married and I was in the best mental and physical shape of my life. Fast forward to 2009, 3 years later, at the age of 33, this is when I had my child, my daughter Madeline, who, by the way, I was told was highly unlikely to ever happen because of all the treatments and the mess that my body had been left in. So I fully believe that is a testament to my own focus and my drive to get my health back on track, that I was able to have a bouncing, almost 9-pound baby girl. Unfortunately, though, it wasn't all roses. As you can see here, I put on a lot of weight, and this was a result of severe postnatal depression. This was another hormone crash. I ended up spending the next few years after at first succumbing to going on to anxiety medications, antidepressants. I wanted relief ASAP from this overwhelming mental craziness that I couldn't understand, I couldn't explain. And I was willing to do whatever it took to get relief quick, although it went against everything that I believed in. Because deep down, I knew that naturally I'd healed myself once, brought my body back to a state of health it had never been in before I even had cancer. And I wanted to make sure that I knew that I could do it again. But the problem this time was that my mindset was a mess. My mindset needed some serious work. And that's where I needed to focus. And again, with the help of my naturopath, she got my mindset back on track. I went back to everything I knew from a nutrition and a lifestyle perspective that had worked for me. I implemented everything that I am sharing in my membership, and I was able to get my body back, my life back, my health back. And I kept that for many, many years. This is me, age 40 in 2016, looking and feeling younger than I did when I was 30. And that was a result of my hard work and commitment to myself. But it still wasn't over. This is fast forwarding to the age of 45. This was in 2021. And this was when I was at the beginning of, well, not the, I was probably about a year in, I realized at this point, into my own perimenopausal journey. As you can see, the weight was coming on fast and furious. I may be smiling, but I was crying inside. My hormones were a mess. I was experiencing anxiety. I was not sleeping at night. I was extremely depressed one day, and then moods were all over the place the next. I had absolutely zero drive. I'd lost all my enjoyment in life. I was having night sweats more often than I cared to admit, even in the middle of the winter, and I was struggling. Again, it took me having to get my mindset in the right place to be able to then focus on what I knew I had to do. I had let my habits slip. We had just emigrated in 2020 from the UK back to Canada in the middle of a pandemic. Life, to say the least, was extremely stressful. And it was the level of stress that my body had been under, coupled with the onset of perimenopause and the fluctuating hormones, estrogen and progesterone, that led me to this state. But once I realized, and my mindset, finally, I did the mindset work to remind myself that I needed to be a priority. I implemented everything that I'd always done before that had helped. And this is me in last year, in fact, this is in 47. And this is me today. As you can see, a lot slimmer, certainly a lot happier, a lot more balanced. Do I have days where I feel stressed? Absolutely, because life still happens. But I have a strategy. I have tools at my disposal. I have myself, my mindset in the right place to know that I am a non-negotiable. I do not now put myself last. This is a time of my life where I have to pay more attention to me and my health more than I've ever done before. And it's not a bad thing. It's actually quite exciting. So that's why I know a little bit about how to help you. And I'm throwing in an additional bonus, a special price bonus, my 30-day plant-based body reset program. This is for those of you that, as you're working through the framework, you may want to step it up a notch, accelerate your results, and do it in a vegetarian or vegan approach for whatever reason. Maybe you already are vegan or vegetarian, or maybe it's something that you've been interested in exploring. Maybe it's just simply you want to do it for a more of a values perspective than from a health perspective. Whatever your reason, this is an extremely popular program that I wanted to give you the option to buy into. And for a one-time payment of $27, you get the full 30-day program with the meal guides, the grocery lists, the full success guide, the recipe packs. You get a whole bunch of strategy plans, and it is one of my most popular program. So I wanted to offer it here for those of you that prefer a vegan or vegetarian lifestyle. Even if you don't, and you're quite fine having meat or fish or eggs or dairy, plant-based should still be, if you haven't figured that out by now from tonight's session, plant-based should be the basis of how you eat moving forward, a whole food base. And the more we focus on plant-based foods, the more alkalizing we are to our body, the less inflammation we will have. So this program not only supports the nutritional element of our membership framework, it just gives you that extra ease of doing it if in a vegan or vegetarian approach, if that is something that is important to you. If you are interested in the program and you're enrolling for the membership, for the $7 a month membership, when you click on this link, you will get the option right afterwards to opt in for this if you wish. It's totally optional, but I wanted to give it to you at an insanely low price because I just think it complements the framework and the membership so well. And one last offer. I wanted to invite those of you that might feel that you need a little bit more support. I wanted to invite you. I'm opening the doors to what will otherwise be a typically closed membership. That is the pro level of the Midlife Metamorphosis Society. So the pro level, it's essentially the same framework. You get access to everything in the $7 a month membership, but you get additional support. You get bi-weekly group live coaching sessions, you get hot seat coaching opportunities, and you get monthly private one-to-one consultations with me every month so that we can work on your specific situation, break through your roadblocks, essentially give you whatever level of support it is that you feel you need. So this is for those of you that feel that you might just need that extra leg up or that little bit of extra hand holding. Maybe you know that you have some underlying chronic conditions that are going to at some point require a deeper dive. If that is the case, then the pro level is absolutely for you. It is $27 a month and it includes the $7 a month membership. So if you do as you go through the link, it will essentially refund you back the $7 for the mini membership if you decide to upgrade to the pro. Again, completely optional. The Midlife Metamorphosis Society membership, the $7 membership, and the framework of the training element, it was intentionally set up so that you could walk through it on your own, self-study, and you still will get plenty of support in the Facebook group, in the community, along with the live Q&A sessions and the trainings. So it's certainly that you don't need to have the additional level of support. It's just you know yourself and whether you will appreciate that extra support, that extra accountability, and that extra leg up, essentially. So it's another option for you. So there we have it. There is my big reveal. I am glowing because I'm so proud of this. I have worked so hard on putting it into a format that is going to make it easy for essentially any woman to be able to grab her life again, grab it with both hands, and really take back control, walk through every important pillar of her health, and be able to really shift the experience from one of overwhelm into one that is essentially meant to be viewed as the gateway for you into the best part of your life. You've got so many more years of living. You should not be viewing life as best years are behind you. In fact, they are ahead of you if you want it. This is a great way into that world. I would love to be a part of it with you. If you have any questions at all, please reach out to me in our Facebook group or send me an email at joanne@cleanlivingnutrition.com. And I really, really am excited and hope I see you on the inside of whichever membership you feel is the best fit for you. All right. Thank you so much for your time over the last 3 days. If you have been watching on replays, I appreciate it's a busy time. I know the 6 p.m. slot doesn't always work for everybody. It's always a struggle trying to find the perfect time for lives for everybody. But I hope the replays serve you well. And I look forward to assisting you on the rest of your transformation journey. Have a great evening, everyone, and I look forward to connecting again soon. Bye for now.